Renata Mills was 33 years old when she landed home 6 months early from an overseas nursing contract, carrying a job offer that would finally let her stop working continents away from her own marriage. She didn't call ahead. She wanted to surprise Damon. Her key didn't turn in the lock. He'd told her it was changed after a break-in scare. She let herself in through the garage instead. The house smelled like a candle she'd never bought. A coffee mug sat in the sink, rimmed with lipstick that wasn't hers. Upstairs, she heard voices. Her voices. Familiar ones. She opened her bedroom door and found her husband in their bed with the one woman she trusted more than anyone on earth. Her best friend of 15 years, Tasha. By the door sat a packed weekend bag, tagged with both their names. A hotel confirmation sat open on the counter. Damon looked caught. Tasha looked rehearsed. Neither of them noticed Ray's phone was already recording. What they'd built behind her back was about to meet the one thing they never accounted for: her patience. Before we dive in, comment where you're watching from today, and if stories like this speak to you, hit subscribe because tomorrow's story is even more intense. The monitor screamed before Ray even reached the bedside. "VFib!" she called out, her voice flat and steady. No panic in it. There never was. "Charging to 200. The ICU at Kula Hospital hummed with controlled chaos around her. Nurses moving fast, a respiratory tech squeezing the bag, a young resident from Muscat standing at the foot of the bed, looking like he might pass out himself. Ray didn't look at him. She looked at the patient, Mr. Al-Rashidi, 62 years old, 2 days post-bypass, and currently doing his level best to die on her watch. That wasn't going to happen. "Clear!" The shock hit. The body lifted slightly off the bed and dropped. Everyone looked at the monitor. Flatline. "Again! Charging!" She kept her hands moving, kept her eyes sharp. This was the part that separated good nurses from great ones. The seconds between chaos and clarity, where your hands had to know what to do before your brain caught up. Ray's hands always knew. "Clear!" The second shock hit. The monitor blipped. Then again, then settled into a rhythm, unsteady at first, then firm and even, like a drum finding its beat. "There you are," Ray murmured. She exhaled slowly through her nose, not loud enough for anyone else to hear. She documented the intervention, adjusted his drip, and quietly relayed orders to the team around her with the same calm voice she'd been using for 6 months in this country, in this hospital, so far from home she sometimes forgot what her own kitchen smelled like. By the time her shift ended, the sun outside was already brutal, white and flat over the rooftops of Muscat, baking everything it touched. Ray sat in the break room with her shoes off and a cup of coffee going cold beside her, her phone face down on the table. She was tired, in a specific way that sleep didn't fix, tired behind her eyes, tired in her chest. 6 months was a long time to be someone's emergency. Her phone buzzed. She flipped it over. Dr. Brooks calling. Ray straightened and answered. "This is Ray." "Renata." Dr. Imani Brooks had a voice like a woman who had never second-guessed a single decision in her life. Warm, but precise. "I'll get right to it. I've been watching your work closely since you came on, and I want to offer you a permanent position. Full-time, senior ICU nurse, home hospital. Better pay than your contract rate, benefits, stability." Ray opened her mouth, closed it. "I know this is sudden," Dr. Brooks continued, "but I don't believe in waiting when I see something worth keeping." The cold coffee, the plastic chair, the 6 months of double shifts and missing Damon's voice and sleeping alone in a city that wasn't hers. "Yes," Ray said. "Yes, I want that." She called Damon before she even left the hospital parking lot. It rang 4 times. 5. Then his voice, slightly breathless, like she'd caught him mid-something. Hey, Ray, what's up?" "I got offered a permanent position," she said. "Back home. Full-time. Dr. Brooks just called me." A pause. Short, but she felt it. "Wow," he said. That's great, babe." "That's great, babe." Like she'd told him about a good parking spot. "I'm going to come home early," she said. "I want to surprise you. I'm thinking I can book a flight for—" Wait, hold on." His voice shifted, tightened a little around the edges. "You don't have to do all that. I mean, the house is— There was a break-in scare a couple weeks ago. Remember I told you? Had to change all the locks. I was going to send you the new key code, but things have just been crazy." Ray frowned. "I don't remember you mentioning a break-in." "I did," he said. "Babe, I definitely mentioned it. Anyway, the place is kind of a mess right now. Why don't you wait until next month? I can come pick you up properly, make it a whole thing." Something small and shapeless moved through her chest. She didn't name it. "I'll figure out the garage code," she said. "Don't worry about it." "Ray." "I'll see you soon, Damon." The texts from Tasha had been rolling in all week. That wasn't unusual on its own. Tasha had been Ray's closest friend since nursing school, maid of honor at the wedding, the kind of woman who remembered birthdays and texted memes at midnight just to make you laugh. But lately, the messages had a different quality to them. Warmer somehow, more frequent. "Damon mentioned you've been working so hard. Just checking in on you, girl. You okay? Thinking about you today. For real. You deserve a break. Let me know when you're back. We'll do a whole week of brunches, I promise." Ray read them all, smiled at her phone, sent back hearts and short replies. She didn't think about them again. She booked the flight that same night. 14 hours, one connection, economy seat by the window. She packed her bags in 20 minutes. She'd been ready to come home for months, really, and left the rest of the apartment as she found it. Clean, impersonal, never hers. The airport in Muscat glittered under bright white lights as she moved through the terminal with her rolling suitcase and her carry-on and her whole life restructuring itself quietly in her chest. She landed at home on a Tuesday night, the city dark and familiar around her, the air smelling like pavement and rain, and something she could only call here. She hailed a cab outside Arrivals, gave the driver her address, didn't text Damon she was coming. She wanted it to be a surprise. The cab pulled away before she reached the front door. Ray stood on the porch of her own house, with her rolling suitcase behind her and her carry-on strap cutting into her shoulder, and she dug her key out of her coat pocket the way she had 100 times before. Same key, same lock, same dark green front door she and Damon had painted together 2 summers ago on a Saturday when they'd had nothing to do and everything felt easy. The key didn't turn. She tried it again, slower. Checked that it was the right one, though she knew it was. Nothing. The break-in scare, the new locks, the thing she hadn't verified because she hadn't thought she needed to. She stood there a moment, her breath visible in the cold air, the street quiet behind her. Then she walked around the side of the house to the garage. The keypad glowed faint green in the dark. She punched in the code, 4719, Damon's college jersey number, the same code they'd used for 3 years. And the garage door groaned and rolled upward. She exhaled. She wheeled her suitcase inside, left it against the wall, and slipped through the door into the house as quietly as she could. The kitchen was dark except for the light above the stove, which they always left on at night. Ray stood still for a moment, letting her eyes adjust. Something felt immediately, quietly wrong, in the way a room can feel wrong when it's yours but has been touched by someone else's hands. She looked around. New throw pillows on the couch. Deep burgundy with tassels. She had never owned a throw pillow with tassels in her life. A candle on the kitchen island, large, cream-colored, half burned down. Ray leaned in slightly. Something floral, something she didn't recognize. And on the drying rack beside the sink, a coffee mug, white with a small painted flower on the side. Lipstick on the rim, a dark berry color that Ray had never worn. She looked at it for a long moment. Then she heard voices upstairs, low, familiar. A woman's laugh, soft and private, the kind you only use when you think no one can hear you. Ray knew that laugh. She moved to the stairs. She didn't think about it. Her feet just carried her, one step at a time, the way they carried her toward a crashing patient. Quiet, deliberate, her hand barely touching the railing. The bedroom door was halfway open. She pushed it the rest of the way. Damon saw her first. He went completely still for half a second, and that half second told her everything. Because it wasn't the freeze of someone shocked to see their wife, it was the freeze of someone caught. Tasha scrambled upright against the headboard, clutching the sheet to her chest, her face going through 5 different expressions in about 2 seconds before it landed on something that looked like horror. "Ray," Damon started. He was already reaching for words. She could see it on his face, the machine starting up. "Oh my God!" Tasha's voice broke. "Ray, please, just let me—" Ray didn't say anything. She looked at them both. She looked at her bed, her headboard, the nightstand on her side with the lamp she'd picked out at a flea market in 2019. She looked at the reading glasses on Tasha's side of the bed, on her side of the bed. Then she walked to the closet. She opened the door. Half her clothes were gone. The left side of the rod, her side, was filled with things she didn't own. A row of blouses in colors Tasha favored, a pair of heeled sandals on the floor, a makeup bag sitting open on the shelf where Ray used to keep her folded sweaters. She stared at it. "Baby, I can explain," Damon said from behind her. He'd pulled on a shirt. She could hear him moving. This isn't what it looks like, okay? Tasha needed a place to stay, and things just— "Ray!" Tasha's voice was softer, careful, shaped like an apology but hollow in the middle. "I'm so sorry. I know how this looks, I know. Just please let me talk to you." Ray closed the closet door. She walked back through the bedroom without looking at either of them and went downstairs. By the front door sat a weekend bag. Black canvas, 2 sets of initials on the luggage tag, DM plus TV. She stared at the tag, at those 2 sets of initials on a bag packed and ready to go, sitting in her house, in her entryway, on a trip she had never heard one word about. On the kitchen counter, half under a takeout menu, was a hotel confirmation printout, a resort upstate. Check-in this Friday, 2 nights, 1 room. Her hands were shaking. She didn't feel them shaking, she just noticed it, the same way she noticed clinical details, observed it from a slight distance, filed it away. She pulled out her phone. She photographed the bag. She photographed the luggage tag. She photographed the hotel confirmation, all the way down to the confirmation number and the reservation name. Damon Mills, party of 2. Then she picked up her carry-on from where she left it by the garage door, and she walked out the front door, and she pulled it shut behind her with a soft, final click. Yolanda's apartment was on the 4th floor of a brick building 12 minutes from the house. Ray had taken a cab. She hadn't called ahead. She knocked twice. A light came on behind the door. Then Yolanda's voice, cautious and low. "Who is it?" "It's me." The door swung open fast. Yolanda stood in a sleep shirt and socks, her reading glasses still on, a brief on the coffee table behind her. She took one look at Ray, carry-on strap, coat, the particular stillness on her face, and stepped aside without asking a single question. Ray walked in. She sat on the couch and set her phone on the cushion between them. She didn't say anything right away. She just pulled up the photos, one at a time, and handed the phone to Yolanda. Yolanda scrolled through them slowly. The weekend bag, the luggage tag, the hotel confirmation, the close-up of the 2 initials on the tag, DM plus TV, which she stared at for a long moment without speaking. Then she set the phone down on the coffee table and took her glasses off. "Tasha," she said, not a question. "Yes." Yolanda was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then she stood up, walked to the kitchen, and came back with 2 glasses of water. She set one in front of Ray and held the other without drinking it. "Okay," she said. Her voice was very controlled. "I'm going to ask you to let me talk for just a minute before you say anything." Ray nodded. You need to file. I mean immediately, Ray. You walked in on them in your house, in your bed, with a packed bag by the door. That's not a situation that needs more investigation. That's a situation where every hour you wait gives him time to move things around. She paused. He is going to move things around. That's what men like Damon do when they get scared. Ray looked at her water glass. I hear you, she said. But I want to know how long. Yolanda sat back. What do you mean? The bag was packed and ready, Ray said. Her clothes were already in my closet. Not one outfit, Yoli. A whole side of the rod. A makeup bag on my shelf. Reading glasses on her nightstand. She said it evenly, but something moved across her face when she said her nightstand. That doesn't happen in a week. That doesn't happen in a month. She picked up the water glass and set it back down without drinking. I want to know what this actually is before I decide what to do about it. Yolanda watched her. And there's the account, Ray said. Which account? The emergency fund. The joint house account I've been wiring into from overseas. She folded her hands in her lap. I've sent money into that account every month for almost 2 years. For the house, for anything that came up while I was gone. She paused. I haven't looked at the balance in a while. I trusted him to manage it. The word trusted sat between them like something heavy. Yolanda was quiet for a moment. How much are we talking? Over 2 years? Ray did the math without hesitating. Between $40,000 and $50,000. Yolanda's jaw tightened. She didn't raise her voice. She wasn't the type to raise her voice when she was truly angry. She just went very still. I want to see that account before anything else moves, Ray said. Before I file, before I confront him, before I do anything. I want to see exactly where that money went. I can pull the statements tomorrow morning, Yolanda said. First thing. Thank you. Ray. Yolanda leaned forward, elbows on her knees, and looked at her sister the way only someone who'd known her their whole life could. Searching. Checking the parts of her that didn't show. Are you okay? Ray thought about the closet, the row of blouses, the makeup bag sitting on her shelf like it belonged there. No, she said simply. But I'm not going to do anything stupid. Not yet. Yolanda nodded slowly. She reached out and pressed her hand over Ray's once, briefly, then let go. I'll pull the account records and anything else I can access by morning, she said. You're not filing anything until we know what we're looking at. Agreed? She stood. I'll get you a blanket. An hour later, the apartment was quiet. Yolanda's light was off. The brief was still on the coffee table, abandoned. Ray lay on the couch with a folded blanket pulled up to her waist and her phone face down on the floor beside her. The ceiling above her was plain and white and had nothing on it. She didn't cry. She stared at the ceiling and she thought about the account. She thought about $50,000 and where it could have gone. She thought about the luggage tag and those 2 sets of initials and how long it takes to print a luggage tag, to buy a bag, to unpack your clothes into someone else's closet like you live there. She was going to find out exactly how long. She closed her eyes. She didn't move until morning. The laptop was open on Yolanda's kitchen table before the coffee was done. Yolanda had her reading glasses back on and a yellow legal pad beside her. Ray sat across from her in yesterday's clothes, her hair pulled back with the elastic she kept on her wrist. Neither of them had eaten anything. I need your login, Yolanda said. Ray recited the email and password from memory. She had logged into that account dozens of times from overseas, from hotel rooms and staff housing and hospital break rooms at 2 a.m. She knew those credentials the way she knew her own employee ID. Yolanda typed them in and hit enter. The page loaded. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The account balance sat at the top of the screen in plain black numbers. Clean, unambiguous. $412.09. Ray stared at it. She had wired her last transfer 6 weeks ago. $2,200, same as every month, same as she had done for almost 2 years without missing a single month. She had done it from a hospital break room in the middle of a double shift, sitting in a plastic chair with her scrub still on, because that was what she did. She kept things running. She held things together. From 6,000 miles away, she held things together. $412. Okay, Yolanda said, her voice flat and careful. She clicked over to the transaction history and started scrolling. Neither of them said anything for a while. The only sound was the coffee maker finishing behind them. The deposits were all there, every single one, going back 22 months. Regular, consistent, her name on every line. The withdrawals were just as regular, and significantly larger. He was pulling from it, Ray said. Every few weeks, Yolanda confirmed, sometimes more than once a month. She tapped a line on the screen. This one here, $4,000, cash withdrawal 11 months ago. She scrolled down. Another one, $3,500. Then here, $6,000. She stopped. Ray, this one's a transfer, not a cash pull. It went somewhere. Ray leaned in to look. The transfer had gone to an account she didn't recognize. The last 4 digits were listed. That was all. That's not our savings, Ray said. No, Yolanda said. It's not. Ray called Damon at 9:47. She kept her voice even. She told him she was sorting out the household finances and had some questions about the emergency account. She didn't mention where she was. She didn't mention Yolanda. He picked up on the 3rd ring, and she could hear him adjust. The small, half-second pause before he answered, the way his voice dropped into something casual and practiced. Yeah, he said. That account took a hit. We had a plumbing situation. I told you about it. You mentioned something, Ray said. What was the damage? It was the main line, under the foundation. You remember I told you the basement was flooding? She didn't remember, because it hadn't happened, but she kept her voice easy. Do you still have the invoice from the contractor? She asked. I want to keep records for tax purposes. A beat. I'd have to look for it, he said. It was a while ago. Sure, she said. Whenever you find it. She ended the call. She set the phone down on the table and looked at Yolanda. Yolanda already had a new tab open. She was typing. Her jaw was set in the way it got when she was working a case she intended to win. I'm checking contractor permits, she said. Any licensed plumber doing work that size needs to pull a permit with the city. She typed. She waited. She scrolled. Nothing. She tried a second search, then a third. She sat back in her chair. There's no permit, no record of any filed work order at that address in the last 2 years. Insurance claim? Ray asked. If the foundation line burst and flooded the basement, your homeowner's policy would have covered most of it, Yolanda said. You'd have a claim number, an adjuster visit, a paper trail. She was already pulling up another window. I'll need to call the insurance company directly to confirm, but... She stopped herself. She pulled her glasses off and rubbed the space between her eyes. There's no plumber, Ray said. There's no plumber, Yolanda confirmed. The kitchen was quiet. Somewhere outside, a car horn went off briefly and then stopped. Ray turned the coffee mug in her hands. $40-something thousand. Gone. A transfer to an account she'd never seen. No contractor, no claim, no receipts, no disaster. Just the money she'd wired home month after month, sitting in a joint account she'd trusted him to protect, disappearing into something she couldn't see yet. I need to know where that transfer went, she said. Yolanda nodded slowly. I know someone, she said. Theo Banks. He's a forensic accountant. You remember him. He came to Mama's retirement dinner. He's been doing work for Dad's old firm for years. She paused. He can trace the money properly. Find out where it went and who it went to. If there's a paper trail, Theo will find it. Call him, Ray said. Yolanda reached Theo Banks that afternoon. She gave him the short version. He listened without interrupting, asked 2 questions, and told her he could meet them the next morning. "Tell Ray I'll bring coffee," he said. Yolanda wrote down the time and hung up. Theo Banks arrived at 8:53 with 3 coffees in a cardboard carrier and a laptop bag over one shoulder. He was tall, unhurried, and had the kind of quiet that made a room feel more organized just by him walking into it. He set the coffees on the table, shook Yolanda's hand, and then turned to Ray. "Hey," he said simply. "Hey," she said back. No fuss. "No, I'm so sorry," delivered in that slow, careful voice that made her feel like a patient. She appreciated that more than she could say. He sat down, unzipped his bag, and pulled out his laptop. Then he looked at Ray. "Walk me through everything you have access to," he said. "Account numbers, logins, any statements you've downloaded, everything." Ray nodded and slid Yolanda's legal pad across the table. She had already written it all out the night before. Login credentials, account numbers, the last 4 digits from the unrecognized transfer, the dates and amounts she and Yolanda had found in the transaction history. Theo looked at the list. He didn't react to any of it. He just read it the way a mechanic reads a list of symptoms, carefully, without judgment. And then he started typing. For the first 40 minutes, no one said much. Theo worked and occasionally asked a question. Ray answered. Yolanda refilled the coffees and stayed close, reading over his shoulder when he'd let her. Outside, the morning moved along without them. Sunlight came through the kitchen window and tracked slowly across the table. Ray wrapped both hands around her cup and watched Theo's face for information, the way she watched monitors during a critical case. Any small shift, any change in the line. It came quietly. Theo stopped typing. He leaned closer to the screen. He read something, scrolled, and read it again. "There," he said. He turned the laptop so both of them could see. The unrecognized account number from the transfer, the one that wasn't their savings, the one that had pulled over $6,000 out of the emergency fund in a single move, belonged to a joint checking account, opened 8 months ago. The account holders were listed clearly: Damon A. Mills, Natasha R. Vance. The room went still. Ray read both names twice. Then she set her coffee mug down very carefully, the way she set down a syringe after a precise dose. Slow, deliberate. Not because she was calm, but because her hands needed something to do. 8 months ago. She had still been early in her overseas contract. She had been sending money home every month, calling on weekends, texting Tasha photos of the harbor near her staff housing, asking her to make sure Damon eats something besides takeout. And Tasha had written back. She always wrote back. Long messages. Warm ones. "He's fine. I checked on him yesterday. He misses you so much, girl. We all do." Theo was still talking. She pulled herself back to his voice. "The transfers from your emergency account fed directly into this one," he said. "Consistent deposits over 8 months. This wasn't a one-time pull." He scrolled further. "The money moved through this account and then out again in chunks, rent-sized, vendor-sized." He clicked over to a new tab. "I pulled the business registry for the county," he said. "It took me about 10 minutes to find it." He turned the laptop again. It was a commercial lease agreement, a storefront on Delancey, just under 1,100 square feet. The business name printed at the top of the document was Vance and Mills Wellness Boutique, LLC. The registration date was 7 months ago. The lease had been signed by both parties, Damon A. Mills, Natasha R. Vance. Ray read the document from the top. She read it slowly, like she was charting something important, because she was. The lease term, the monthly rent figure, the security deposit amount, $4,000, paid at signing. $4,000. She remembered that withdrawal from the transaction history, the one Yolanda had flagged. 11 months ago, the cash pull. Not cash, a transfer, to this account, sitting there for 3 months before it became a security deposit on a storefront she had never seen. She had been in a hospital break room when that money left their account. She had probably just finished a shift. She might have even texted Damon that night. She couldn't remember exactly, but she probably had. This wasn't an accident, she said. Her voice came out even, quiet, clinical in the way that only happened when she was working very hard to stay inside herself. No, Theo said. This was built, piece by piece, over months. Yolanda put a hand on Ray's shoulder and didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. The documents said it all. Ray looked at the lease for another moment. Then she looked at Theo. Keep digging, she said. All of it. The account, the business, anything connected to either of them. She paused. I want to know the full picture before I do anything. Theo nodded. He pulled the laptop back toward him. I'll keep pulling, he said, but I want to flag something now. He leaned back and looked at her directly. A commercial lease and a business registration. That's not usually where the exposure ends. Boutiques like this almost always involve a startup loan. If they finance this thing through a bank, there's a credit trail, and that credit trail could mean more liability than what you're looking at right now. The new ICU was on the 4th floor of Mercy General, and it smelled like every ICU Ray had ever worked in. Antiseptic, recycled air, the faint metallic edge of equipment that never fully powered down. She liked it. She always had. Hospitals made sense to her in a way that the rest of life sometimes didn't. Everything had a protocol. Every alarm had a cause. Every number on a monitor meant something specific, and if you paid close enough attention, the body told you exactly what it needed. She accepted Dr. Brooks's offer on a Tuesday morning, signed the paperwork in a small office that smelled like coffee and printer ink, shook Dr. Brooks's hand, and started orientation that same afternoon. We're glad to have you here full-time, Dr. Brooks said, sliding the contract folder across her desk. She was a compact woman with natural hair swept back from her face and reading glasses pushed up on her forehead. She had a way of looking at people like she was already 3 steps ahead, but willing to wait. You were excellent overseas. This floor needs that. Thank you, Ray said. I'm ready to be somewhere that stays put. Dr. Brooks smiled at that. Just a small one. She didn't push further, and Ray appreciated the restraint. The job was real. The paycheck was real. Her name on a lease for a 1-bedroom apartment near the hospital? That was real, too. She had signed that paperwork the same week, quietly, without telling anyone except Yolanda and Theo. No announcement, no drama. Just a set of keys that worked, because she had chosen the locks herself. She heard about Damon and Tasha through Priya. Priya had worked the same nursing cohort as Ray and Tasha 3 years back, before Ray shifted to travel contracts. She was the kind of person who didn't gossip so much as report. She texted like she was filing an incident form, factual, time-stamped. The text came on a Thursday evening, while Ray was eating leftovers at her kitchen counter. Hey, heard something today and felt like you should know it's out there. Tasha told Keisha they're finally being honest. Like it's a good thing. Damon was at Keisha's birthday thing Saturday. Tasha was with him. They were acting like a couple. I'm sorry, Ray. I just thought you should hear it from someone who's actually on your side. Ray read the message twice. She set her fork down. She thought about Tasha at a birthday party, laughing in a room full of people they both knew. Damon's hand probably at the small of her back. The two of them absorbing the kind of warm social acceptance that was supposed to belong to a marriage. Finally being honest. Like the dishonesty had been the secret, not the theft. Like naming it out loud made it clean. Ray typed back. Thank you for telling me. I'm okay. Don't say anything yet. Then she put her phone face down and finished eating. She wasn't going to post anything. She wasn't going to call anyone in that circle. She wasn't going to give Damon or Tasha the satisfaction of knowing they had rattled her. Let them go to parties. Let them tell people it was real. Let them believe the hardest thing Ray was going to do was cry. The less they thought she was capable of, the better. She fed Theo everything she found. Screenshots of old texts from Tasha, the ones that had been so warm and frequent overseas. Just checking in. Damon said you sounded tired. We're all rooting for you. Sent as a pattern alongside the dates of the account transfers. Bank alerts she had screenshotted and ignored at the time, thinking they were routine. A voicemail from Damon, 11 months old, where he had told her not to worry about the account balance, that he was on top of it. in the easy, slightly impatient tone he used when he wanted her to stop asking. She sent Theo the voicemail file on a Wednesday. He acknowledged it in 2 words. Got it. That was how they worked. Clean, efficient, no unnecessary conversation around the edges of the actual job. Theo was building a timeline. She could feel the shape of it forming, the way you could feel a patient stabilizing before the monitors confirmed it. Something in the rhythm, in the steadiness of the numbers. Each document she handed him was another data point. Each transfer, each date, each signed name was a piece of the line she was going to lay in front of Damon and Tasha when the time came. She just needed the full picture first. Her phone rang at 9:47 on a Friday night. She was in bed, still in her scrubs, reading a clinical journal she had been meaning to get to for weeks. The screen showed Theo's name. She answered before the second ring. "Tell me," she said. "I need you to see something." His voice was even, the same tone he used for everything, but there was something underneath it, a weight, like he had turned something over in his hands and needed her to hold it too. "The boutique filed for a small business loan. I pulled the application." Ray sat up. "And?" she said. "There's a co-signer on the loan," Theo said. "Ray, it's your name." Theo's apartment was on the second floor of a brown brick building near downtown. It was the kind of place that felt like work even when nobody was working. Stacks of labeled folders on a long folding table, 2 monitors side by side, a printer that was always warm. The only personal thing in the room was a small framed photo of him and the Okafor family at some 4th of July barbecue years back. Ray and Yolanda on either side of him, all 3 of them squinting into the sun. Ray had noticed that photo the first time she came here. She hadn't mentioned it. She sat down across from him at 9 the next morning. He had a cup of coffee waiting for her, black, no sugar. He remembered without asking. He turned the laptop screen toward her without saying anything first. The loan application was 8 pages. He had it open to page 4. "There," he said. She leaned in. The co-signer line was near the bottom of the page, beneath a block of fine print about repayment terms and liability. The signature was looped and slightly rushed, the kind of signature someone makes when they're trying to copy a version of it they've seen before. Close, but not quite right. Below it, typed in clean font, Renata Okafor Mills. Her social security number. Her date of birth, her home address, everything correct, except the fact that she had never touched this page. Ray stared at it for a long moment. She was aware of her own breathing, steady, slow. She had trained herself to breathe that way in crisis situations, had practiced it so many times it had become automatic. "He used my information to qualify for the loan," she said. "Yes." Theo's voice was flat and careful. The business didn't have enough credit history on its own. Adding a co-signer with your income and your credit score was likely the difference between approval and denial. He paused. "Whoever submitted this application knew your financials well enough to fill this out accurately." Damon, who had been added to her bank account 6 years ago, because marriage was about trust, who knew her salary, her credit score, her social security number, the way you know someone's coffee order, automatically, without thinking about it. "What does this mean for me legally?" Ray asked. "Right now, you're on the hook for the loan," Theo said. "If the business defaults, the bank comes to you first. But more importantly," he tapped the screen once, "this isn't a civil matter anymore. Forging a signature on a loan application is fraud. Federal, depending on the lender." Ray sat back in her chair. She thought about Damon at that birthday party, Tasha beside him, both of them wearing her money like a coat they'd borrowed without asking and never planned to return. She picked up her phone. Yolanda read the application in under 2 minutes. She didn't say anything right away. She set it down on her kitchen table, pressed both palms flat against the surface, and looked at the wall for a moment like she was running calculations behind her eyes. Then, "Okay. This isn't a divorce case anymore. This is fraud." "I know," Ray said. "Ray?" Yolanda turned and looked at her directly. Her voice dropped into the tone she used in courtrooms, precise and low. "Forging your signature on a federally backed loan application? That is a crime. That man committed a crime against you while you were working overseas to pay his bills. I know, Ray said again. I'm going to call Marcus Webb. Yolanda was already reaching for her phone. Marcus Webb was a fraud attorney she had referred clients to before. Sharp, thorough, the kind of man who read loan documents the way other people read novels. He needs to see this before we file anything. We document everything first. Every transfer, every date, this application, Theo's full report. We build the complete picture. Ray nodded. And then? Yolanda set her phone down for a moment and looked at her sister. Then we give them exactly one chance to sit across from you and feel what it's like when you're not playing nice anymore. A pause. But we do it our way. Controlled. You ask for a meeting. Civil. Make them think you're coming to negotiate a quiet divorce and split the furniture. They'll show up relaxed. Because they think I won't fight, Ray said. Because they've never once seen you fight, Yolanda said. They've only ever seen you work and be patient and give people the benefit of the doubt. She picked her phone back up. Let them keep thinking that. Right up until they can't. That evening, Ray sat at her kitchen counter with her phone in her hand. She opened a new message to Damon, kept it short. I think we should meet. You, me, and Tasha. Somewhere neutral to talk through next steps. No lawyers, no drama. Just a conversation. She sent it. Then she forwarded the same message to Tasha. Damon replied in 4 minutes. Yeah, that works. Let us know when. Tasha replied in 6. Of course. Thank you for being mature about this, Ray. Really. Ray read both messages, set her phone face down on the counter. She went to bed. The conference room was on the 3rd floor of a building downtown, rented by the hour from a shared office space. Neutral ground. No home court for anyone. Ray arrived 20 minutes early with Yolanda and Marcus Webb. Marcus was a compact man in his late 50s, with reading glasses pushed up on his forehead and a briefcase that looked like it had survived a decade of courtrooms. He set it on the table without ceremony, clicked it open, and began organizing folders in a row. He didn't make small talk. Ray sat at the head of the table. She wore her navy scrubs blazer over a white button-down. She had pressed it herself that morning, standing at the ironing board at 6 a.m. while the apartment was still quiet. She wanted to feel like herself, not a victim walking into a room to beg. Herself. She put her hands flat on the table and breathed. Damon and Tasha arrived together. Ray heard them in the hallway before she saw them. Tasha's laugh, light and quick, the sound of someone who wasn't expecting a hard conversation. Damon pushed the door open and stopped for just a half-second when he saw Marcus Webb and the folders laid out on the table. But he recovered fast. He always did. Hey. He nodded at Ray, then at Yolanda, then away from Marcus entirely, like not acknowledging him might make him less real. Thanks for setting this up. Tasha slid into a chair across from Ray and folded her hands on the table. She looked soft and practiced, remorseful in the way someone looks remorseful when they've rehearsed it. Ray, she said, I just want you to know We'll get to that, Ray said. Her voice was quiet, not cold exactly, just finished with unnecessary things. Tasha closed her mouth. Ray reached for the first folder and set it open on the table so both of them could see. The Joint Emergency Fund, she said. I've been wiring money into this account for 2 years from overseas. At my last deposit, it should have held just under $19,000. She turned the statement so the balance faced them. It held $412. Damon shifted in his seat. I told you, the plumbing. There's no invoice, Ray said. No contractor, no insurance claim. Theo Banks reviewed 2 years of transactions. The money left this account in increments, transferred to a second account. She placed the second document on top of the first. A joint checking account in your name and Tasha's, opened 8 months ago. The room was very quiet. Tasha looked at the paper, then at Damon. Something moved across her face, quick and unsteady, like a door swinging open in wind. Ray placed the third document down. This is the lease, she said, signed 7 months ago. A commercial space, 1,200 square feet, for a wellness boutique, funded by the money I sent home to cover emergencies. She looked at Damon steadily. You didn't fall into this. You planned it. You planned it while I was working double overnight shifts in a country where I didn't speak the language, wiring money home every month because I thought I was taking care of us. Damon opened his mouth, closed it. His jaw tightened. Ray turned to Tasha. You texted me every week, she said, checking on me, sending voice memos, telling me Damon seemed lonely. Her voice stayed even. You used 11 years of friendship to keep me calm and keep me far away while you two built a life on what I earned. The affair I can survive. That, she said, gesturing at the lease between them, was a choice you made over and over again every single week for almost a year. Tasha's eyes had gone red at the corners. Ray, I didn't know everything he... The fourth document landed on the table. Tasha stopped. It was the loan application. Page 4, facing up. The co-signer line. The signature that looked almost like Ray's, but wasn't. Tasha stared at it. That's... She looked up at Damon. That's her name. Tasha, Damon started. That's her signature. Tasha's voice cracked on the last word. Damon, I didn't sign off on that. I didn't know you used her name. It qualified us for the loan, Damon said, low and tight. It was the only way. I didn't know, Tasha said again. She said it like she needed someone in the room to believe her, and she looked at Ray when she said it, which was almost worse. I swear I didn't know he did that. Damon turned toward her. You signed the lease. You picked the location. I didn't forge anyone's name, Tasha said. Her voice had gone sharp. That's not the same thing. Damon fell quiet. The room did too, for a moment that stretched long and uncomfortable, like a wire pulled too tight. Marcus Webb, who had not spoken once, removed his reading glasses from his forehead and put them on. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm the attorney representing Ms. Okafor Mills. He tapped the stack of documents. This full financial report, the forensic account analysis, and this loan application will be submitted to the lending institution and to the family court today. Both institutions have been briefed on the timeline. Ray pushed back her chair and stood. She picked up her blazer from the back of her seat, folded it over her arm, and walked out first. The divorce filing hit Damon's inbox on a Tuesday. Marcus Webb had submitted it that morning, along with a 63-page forensic financial report that Theo had spent 3 weeks building line by line. The report named dates, amounts, and account numbers. It named the boutique. It named the forged signature on page 4 of the loan application. It named Damon Mills, specifically, as the party who had committed financial fraud against his spouse. Ray was at work when it went through. She was standing at a medication cart in the new ICU, checking a drip rate on a patient in Bay 6, when her phone buzzed once in her pocket. She checked it, read Marcus's 2-sentence confirmation, and put the phone away. Then she finished checking the drip rate, documented it, and moved to Bay 7. That was how she handled it, one thing at a time. The bank moved faster than anyone expected. Theo submitted the loan documentation on a Wednesday afternoon. The application, the forensic analysis, the side-by-side signature comparison that a handwriting specialist had reviewed and signed off on. The lending institution had a fraud division. That division had a protocol. By Friday, Damon had received a certified letter informing him that his business loan account had been flagged for an internal fraud investigation pending review of the co-signer documentation. The boutique's commercial lease was tied to that loan. Without the financing, the lease couldn't be maintained. The landlord, presented with the bank's investigation notice and Yolanda's carefully worded legal correspondence, terminated the agreement within 10 days. The 1,200-square-foot space on Calloway Street, which had never held a single piece of furniture, went back on the rental market. The business that had been built on Ray's money, planned in secret over nearly a year, planned while she worked night shifts in a hospital on another continent. It never opened. Tasha's situation unraveled differently, slower, and in some ways, uglier. The bank's investigation didn't stop at Damon. Tasha had co-signed the lease. Her name was on the joint checking account. The funds that had passed through that account, Ray's funds, traced clearly by Theo's report, had directly paid for Tasha's portion of the startup costs. The investigators noted that Tasha may not have forged the signature herself, but she had financially benefited from a loan obtained through fraud. That distinction, her attorney would later tell her, was not as protective as she'd hoped. Tasha's employer, a regional hospital network, received a formal notification from the bank's fraud referral department, standard procedure for licensed professionals named in financial investigations. Her nursing license wasn't revoked, not yet, and maybe not ever, but the hospital placed her on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. She went from 3 shifts a week to nothing. Just like that. The boutique was gone. The income she'd counted on from it was gone. And now, her paycheck was gone too. Word spread the way it always does in nursing circles. Quietly at first, then all at once. The details came out piece by piece. The drained emergency fund, the secret account, the forged signature, the boutique that had been funded by a woman working overnight shifts overseas, while her husband and her best friend planned to open it together. People who had heard Tasha describe the relationship as finally being honest about what's real went back and looked at that statement differently. It didn't sound like honesty anymore. It sounded like a cover story. One by one, the messages stopped coming. The group chats went quiet for Tasha. The lunch invitations stopped arriving for Damon. A few people reached out to Ray directly, former co-workers, nursing school classmates, women who had danced at her wedding, and said some version of the same thing. "I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm here." Ray responded to each one briefly, warmly, and without drama. She didn't need anyone to be angry on her behalf. The documents had already said everything. Damon moved out of the house in the 3rd week of the investigation. He couldn't afford the mortgage alone. He never really could, which Ray had always quietly known. He put the house on the market and rented a 1-bedroom apartment on the east side of the city, far from the neighborhood where people knew his name. His attorney, a man he'd found quickly and couldn't fully afford, told him plainly that the forged signature had created serious exposure. The word criminal was used in that conversation. Damon did not call Ray. She did not call him. The settlement was finalized on a Thursday, 11 weeks after the meeting in the rented conference room downtown. Marcus Webb called Ray at 4:17 in the afternoon. She was in the hospital parking garage, keys in hand, coat half on. "It's done," he said. "Filed and confirmed. Full financial restitution plus interest as structured. The house sale proceeds are allocated per the agreement. Judge signed it this morning." Ray leaned against her car for a moment. The concrete of the garage was cold and gray around her. A distant elevator dinged somewhere above. "Thank you, Marcus," she said. "You did the hard part," he said. "I just organized the paperwork." She smiled, just a little. "So did I," she said. The apartment was on the 4th floor of a building on Delwood Avenue, 3 blocks from a coffee shop Ray had already decided was hers. She'd picked it herself. That was the part that still felt new. No compromise, no checking with anyone. She had walked through 6 units over 2 weekends, and when she stepped into this one, northeast corner, 2 windows in the bedroom, floors that were warm and honey-colored in the afternoon light, she had said yes on the spot. The movers had come on a Saturday morning. By Sunday evening, every box was unpacked. She didn't rush it. She put things exactly where she wanted them. The good lamp by the reading chair, her nursing certifications in matching frames above the small desk. The kitchen organized the way her brain worked, logical, clean, everything visible. No one else's coffee mug on the counter, just hers. She was a full-time staff nurse now, permanent placement. The position Dr. Imani Brooks had offered her that last night overseas, when everything still looked whole. The pay was better than the travel contracts. The hours were steady. She knew the unit rhythms, the other nurses, the residents who cycled through and tried too hard. She had a locker with her name on a piece of tape. Small things, they added up. She had her own savings account now, too. One account, her name only, no joint access, no shared portal, no reason to explain a single transaction to a single person on Earth. She checked the balance sometimes just to feel it. Solid, unbroken, hers. Damon's name came up occasionally, and only incidentally. Someone from the old social circle mentioned him once, in the passing way people mention things they feel slightly bad about knowing. He was in a one-bedroom somewhere on the east side, still tangled in legal fees, still waiting to hear whether the bank's fraud referral would produce criminal charges. His attorney's retainer had reportedly eaten through most of what he'd received from the house sale. He had stopped posting on social media months ago. Ray didn't look him up. She had no reason to. Tasha had left the city entirely. Ray heard it from Yolanda, who heard it from a former classmate. Still under investigation, still suspended. She had moved to a city 2 states over, trying to start over somewhere no one knew her face or her story. Whether she'd managed it, Ray didn't know and didn't ask. The boutique had never opened. That fact remained deeply satisfying in the way that quiet, clean facts sometimes are. Theo came by on her second Sunday in the apartment, carrying a paper bag from the coffee shop down the street and a folder he'd promised to drop off, the final copy of his forensic summary, her personal copy, closed out and archived now that the case had settled. He looked at the apartment the way he looked at most things, steady, taking it in. "Good light," he said. "That's why I took it," she said. She made coffee in her new kitchen while he sat at the small table by the window, the folder on the surface between them, not yet opened. They'd been here before, in this general shape of a moment. Documents between them, something just under the surface of the conversation. "You doing okay?" he asked. He always asked it directly. No preamble, no cushion, just the question. "Better than okay," she said. "Genuinely." He nodded like he believed her, because she'd learned in the past year that Theo only nodded when he actually believed something. She set a mug in front of him and sat across the table, and they talked for 2 hours. Not about the case, not about Damon or Tasha or any of it. They talked about her unit, about a book she'd been reading, about his sister's new baby and the impractical name she'd chosen. At some point, the folder slid to the side, and neither of them moved it back to the center. There was something forming between them. They both knew it. Neither of them said it, and neither of them seemed in any particular hurry to. That was the part that felt right. No urgency, no performance, just this, whatever this was, allowed to exist at whatever pace it chose. When he left, he paused at the door. "The light's really good in here," he said again. "You said that already," she said. "Still true," he said. She was still smiling when she closed the door. She found the voicemail 3 days later. It came in on a Tuesday afternoon while she was in the middle of a shift, so she'd missed it completely. She saw the notification after she clocked out, standing by her locker, coat in hand. Tasha's name. 41 seconds. Ray sat down on the bench in the locker room. She pressed play. Tasha's voice was quieter than she remembered it, smaller somehow, the way a person sounds when they know they don't have a right to take up space. "Ray, it's me. I wanted to hear your voice, I think. I don't know. I just wanted to talk. If you ever... I know you don't have to. Yeah. Okay." 41 seconds. Ray listened to it once. Then she deleted it, put her coat on, and went to work. Thank you for watching until the end. If this story meant something to you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I've got 2 stories on the screen that you have to watch next. Have a great day!